Welcome to the Swift Half, your weekly session of chat from the UKOCR and adventure running scene. Each week, pub landlord Alan and our favourite regular Ian discuss races, runners and anything else that comes to mind. So pull up a pew, pour yourself a drink and join us for the Swift Half.
Ian, my friend, welcome to a Swift Half again. How are you?
I'm good, Alan. I'm very good. We are midway through February, which means it must be Christmas soon.
It's blooming Easter in the shops. Yeah, every shop I go in now, I've got Easter eggs coming out of my ears. So yeah, as soon as that's gone, we've got Christmas. But it's also Valentine's Day as well.
Yes. I had to ask that. I saw something on Newsfront? Did Wendy, as we're recording this, did Wendy enjoy Yorkshire Valentine's Day?
Right. There must be something about Yorkshire Valentine's Day that I don't know about this. Is this a special Yorkshire Valentine's Day?
Yeah, Yorkshire Valentine's Day is on the 15th of Feb when the cards are 50% off.
Actually, I have bought flowers. We're recording this on 15, and I have bought flowers today because I wasn't paying 45 quid for flowers yesterday. I am tight. I am a Yorkshireman.
And thus, parody's proven correct.
Yes, it certainly is. No, but seriously, I'm going to defend myself here. I don't normally defend myself. I just do things. But the flowers yesterday. So what? Yesterday's flowers, a dozen red roses were 55 quid. Yeah. Today, the same red roses that got left were 22. That's how? Why? Purely literally because they put it up for Valentine's Day. So yeah. Yorkshire Valentine's Day, 15th of February every year going forward.
Yeah,
I like that idea.
Yeah, we should start a tradition, 15th of February. Maybe we start it for everyone. Everyone's got a little less money in the pocket. So everyone, Valentine's Day next year, if you're in the OCR community or fitness racing community, it's now 15th of February.
Good luck in explaining to your better half that as well when you don't get nothing. What are you drinking?
I am on a Upside Down today. I'm not actually sure. This might be one of the ones Rigby got us. I think it probably was. So Upside Down, alcohol-free, because I was drinking quite a bit over the weekend, Alan.
I saw your video in Glasgow of the hotel you stopped in. Beer in the shower?
Well, that was actually in Manchester on our way back. We stayed at the Brewdog Hotel in Manchester to watch the Super Bowl. And yes, it is amazing. I'm not sure when the Yorkshire Male Valentine's Day is, if such thing exists, but you should definitely get Wendy to take you to Brewdog Hotel.
It was amazing, that hotel. I thought it was in Glasgow, but in Manchester, that was absolutely amazing. Because you're a big American football fan as well, aren't you? Did you predict it?
Well, I predicted it was going to be I actually predicted that the refs would win, and they kind of did. Spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't watched it. It was 58 minutes of wall-to-wall action, spoiled by, in football, there's sometimes those plays where it gets cold and you just want the refs to let it go because it's borderline.
Yeah.
And that's what happened in the Super Bowl. There was it a foul? Yes, it was a foul, but it was one of them fouls that happens on every play, and they just called it at the wrong moment.
We have VAR in football for that. But yeah, I know what you're saying. I didn't watch the whole Super Bowl. I watched the first half. I did think it was a great game. That the first half, I was like, if I wasn't working on Monday, I would have liked to have stopped up and watched it.
I would have liked to have gone to bed at half time because it was a great game. But no, it was like one of them offside decisions, which you just think, oh come on, just let it go, just let it go, and we could probably get into a whole thing about that. So, Alan, what are you drinking?
Well, I'm still not very well, Ian. I can't seem to shake this cold at the minute, and so I'm on Lucasade. I'm actually drinking Lucasade to give me a bit of sugar, try and boost my energies, and try and combat this flu that I've got. I'm worried that I haven't been testing positive for COVID. I have done a couple of tests, and I haven't tested. But people are talking about this long COVID now, and I'm thinking, maybe I've got it. You know what I mean? I don't know, because flu and chest doesn't normally last 2 to 3 weeks, does it?
No, but what I don't think's been helping is the temperature has been up and down like a yo-yo.
Yeah, that's a valid point, that, isn't it? That's right, because I mean, you're right there, because yesterday I actually scraped ice off my windscreen, which I haven't done for 2 or 3 weeks. So, yeah.
We have an Alexa, and this morning, when you tell her to turn her alarm off, she gives you a weather report for some reason. And today it said temperature is currently 0 degrees. Temperatures today will be a high of 11 and a low of 1 degree. Wow. It's like 10 degrees difference.
Crazy, isn't it? And you see it, don't you? Because it is cold in the morning. Then at lunchtime, when I go out to grab something lunch in town, it's like usually quite warm. In fact, I went out today without even a coat on for my lunch, down to the shop, and then you walk home and coat's back on. Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right.
I think it is having an impact on you. Can we have a chat about what you talked about on Monday? You had 2 special guests on. You had Jack and you had Libby.
Yeah.
And you talked about Rummageddon, and we don't often do this, but there was an interesting conversation you had about rigs and about how the Europeans take them different to the UK, particularly race directors. Do you want to just fill in the backstory?
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about now. So this is what we're talking about over in Europe. And in the UK, when OCR became big, it wasn't so much rigs back then, it was just monkey bars, and people would just plonk them wherever they felt they were. And there were never a lot of thought put into it. And sometimes racers now don't have a lot of thought put into it, but they quite often they would always put it after they put you into mud or water or something along those lines, and it makes it 2 and 3 times harder and sometimes impossible. And we talk about that picture that was down at the OCR British Championships back in, I want to say 2016, 2017, whenever it was, with that rig that was virtually impossible. Cold had something to do with that, but they'd put you in water not far before that, I remember, if I remember rightly. We're in Europe, they actually don't do it that way. They don't put water before a rig because they want you to complete the rigs.
Yeah, so you're right. I hadn't really given it much thought until you and Jack talked about it, and there's always this thing. I don't know if it's a bit sadistic of UK race directors, but there's always this thing of, I'm going to make it as hard as possible.
Yeah, there is. But to me, I mean, the race that Sean mentioned, and I said this to Jack, it's because I'm a racer, because I've raced and I've been there. You know what I mean? I weren't fast, I weren't super fast, but I was up there racing as best I can, and it's always stuck in my head that I want to complete every rig. You know what I mean? Every rig I came into, everything that was a body, I always wanted to do. And it was always made 10 times harder after water. So the race that shan't be mentioned, we don't do that. We put you onto our rigs well before you go into any water or mud.
Yeah, and one year you even had the bell on the other side, so even I completed it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we had the bell on the wrong side. So you started off by hitting the bell.
I completed it fine. Didn't do any of the rig, but I hit the bell. But
yeah, that's right.
No,
schoolboy error there.
Yes, I do. It is such a good debate, and we can debate. I think it's common knowledge that OCR is on a little bit of a downturn at the moment in the UK. It's been a little bit of a downturn even before COVID.
As in races, do you mean, not in events? Because I think we've still got a similar amount of people doing them. We just haven't got the amount of events that we had years ago, if that makes sense.
I think we've got slightly less, but I don't know. I guess it depends on what you're judging. Tough Mudder is probably doing slightly better than it did in 2019 in terms of people. They're still getting a lot, but definitely in terms of events. And a lot of reason for events going under is because of numbers.
Yeah.
And I do wonder if this obsession with making things the hardest had an impact.
I think it did. I think we moved very much away from a all-inclusive race that was tough to trying to make it virtually impossible at some point. When I got into it, we had racers like so we had Nuclear and we had Nuts. Nuts was always a tough race in the summer. Sorry, in the winter. In the summer, it was a bit easier, but it was still a tough race. You had Tough Guy, which was known as one of the toughest. But then we had other big races that were known as fun races. Tough Mudder was known as a fun race. Rock Solid, another huge company. Rough Runner, X Runner, all of these were aimed at the fun element, not at the competitive, purely at the fun. And I think that's what we've lost at this moment in time. We've got Tough Mudder, probably that's about it. Nuclear's a little bit competitive, Nuts is and we are going down a competitive route now. I think very much we're going down that competitive route because that's the key, not the key, sorry, not the key. That is where we're getting a lot of the runners from. Years ago, the competitive element was literally 5 and 10% of the runners, but now it's like 40 and 50 sometimes.
Yeah, and I wonder, do you think that is because we are getting more competitive runners, or do you reckon it's because a lot of the fun runners have gone and done something else?
I think it's a mixture. I do think it's a mixture. I think it's a genuine mixture. I think there'll always be people wanting that fun element. But I do people who do it for fun. When you first get into OCR, I always say there's a journey when you get into any type of fitness. So your first thing is fitness. You start to run, you start to get a little bit fitter, you look for an event. There's a lot of events out there what you can do now. So you've got your fitness racing, you've got your road running, you've got athletics, you've got OCR, you've got triathlons, you've got all of that. And people have got to find their own little niche. When you then go into one of those niches, you then start to look for other events. And I've done this. I'm on my journey now. So I have not forgotten OCR. My roots are still in OCR, heavily into OCR, but I'm going more into the ultra running as well. And I've dabbled in fell running. But yeah, a minute of me, all mine training is based along the ultras. And it's great that the OCR scene has got some great ultra races in, So I can still go and do Tough Mudder Infinity. I can still go and do Nuclear Oblivion. I can do 4 laps of Nuts, Limitless Nuts, even though I'm only going to try and do 4 laps. There's still OCRs that have got me hooked because of that ultra style runs. But I don't, at this moment in time, I don't want to go and do a 10K OCR, if that makes sense.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Everyone's on their own journey. And It is difficult because it is trying to cater. And we shouldn't criticise the RDs too much because I was in the UKOCR group at that time, not particularly active, but around 2017, 2018 time. And the loudest voices were people say, oh, the rigs need to be harder. They're much harder here, there, and everywhere. So if you're a race director looking at that, you're thinking, oh, well, if I make my rig really super duper hard, then people will flock to my race.
Yeah. But we went through that phase, didn't we, of virtually everyone had a rig in the garden.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I couldn't get a scaffolder for love nor money.
Yeah, it really was. And now, I see more people selling the rigs, that were competitive and are now no longer competitive. They're selling their garden rigs. The people who are buying them are the ones who are the super competitive, the best of the best. But then we've also got the gyms that you can go to test, to train it and things like that. PT Barn, Rumble Fitness, Fit Body Farm. All of these have all got amazing gyms, amazing apparatus for people to train on.
And that is actually where perhaps OCR will see its next spark, if that makes sense, because we never had that. We never had the training facilities.
Exactly. I see the next spark in OCR coming from teams. I really feel teams are our key to get more people from teams running in them. When we go to quickly touch on Hyrox, you look at Hyrox and gyms turn up to Hyrox in the platitudes. It's like 50 people turning up from one gym to do a Hyrox. 100 from another, 30 from another, 10 from one, 15. There's always a group. There's not very many people rock up from one gym alone. It's groups of people. It's building its community, and I think that's where OCR's now got to, I guess, look at that and say, hey, look what Hyrox are doing. Look what what's the Forders gym? Look what they're doing. Look what Superhuman Games are doing. They're getting the teams in. And I think OCR's got to look at that a little bit. One of the things we've done with the UKOCR League is we've got the team element in there. I do think that that's a massive game changer for OCR. If we can get more teams involved, get people joining teams, I think we're going to see a resurge.
You know what? That is a good point. And I never even thought about it, but you are absolutely right. Particularly, and we're not talking about teams in the context of a Tough Mudder team where you just load all your friends up and go for a bimbo. I presume you're talking about, okay, guys, we're doing a team of 4, OCR, and it's going to be a semi-competitive race.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. I've seen it today. The race I'm mentioned launched something this week. We talked about last week, the 24-hour race. I've seen 4 people actually message me separately and saying, "Can we do it in a pair with our team, with our team buddies?" Yeah, of course you can. And 2 people have actually moved from the 48 hour to the 24, so they can run the 24 because they've got buddies coming to the 24 and they want to run it as a pair.
No, you're right. I think that is a big untapped market. And like you say, OCR has always allowed teams, but it's always been a case of, just put your team name down and well done, you're in a team. But you're right, particularly a lot of these other fitness events like Forders, which we briefly mentioned there, like Superhuman Games, which has some OCR roots, and like National Fitness Games, they're very much team orientated. So I reckon if an OCR was to throw out, okay, guys, we're doing a regular race, but we're also going to do a team of 4 race.
Yeah. Look at when Team UK go out to events. Look at there's a huge. I always get this wrong. Camaraderie. The word camaraderie between Team UK going out. Because it's one team against another, isn't it? So they go out to the Worlds. There's the picture in the obligatory picture in the airport with the kit bricks. When they're out there, we get to see all the pictures of them all together. At the Euros, I'm hoping we're going to see that at the Euros soon. And that is team. Everyone loves to be part of a team.
No, you're right. Particularly a structured team. Definitely a structured team. Speaking of being part of a team, Alan, it's a lovely segue. Tough Mudder launched the ultimate team event this particular week, didn't they?
I love how you give it an amazing build up. This is brilliant. So this is the wedding. This is the Tough Mudder wedding package that's currently only available in the USA, if I remember rightly.
I honestly would hope that no one in the UK would buy this. I'm sorry, my US listeners. I don't know why Tough Mudder think that the US will buy this either. But okay, we spoiled it a little bit, Alan. But you can tell I don't think this is great. But go on, Alan. Tell us what you get.
2 participating tickets, so you and your partner can do the Tough Mudder. 6 spectator tickets, so your guest can't do it. Just you 2. That's it. A black tie headband and a white veil headband. I like that. A black tie headband and a white veil headband. So basically different headbands. 2 electric wire rings. So you get electric wire off electric shock and the rings out of it. Yeah. Professional photos. Some food vouchers, a cake and a bottle of champagne. You get the first dance on stage. I love that. A tent with seating for 8 people. So I guess that's your own private tent. Yeah. And mud and lots of mud. But I guess that's out on the coast. So that's what you get. The best part, though, Ian, is the price.
You miss one. We skipped over. You get Tough Mudder MC officiant. So I presume that would be, well, it's over in America, isn't it? I always forget. Is it Sean Corvell over there? So you might get Sean Corvell officiating your wedding.
But you mean as actually doing the wedding and saying, like, you may kiss the bride and do you take this person and things like that?
That's what officiant means over in America.
So do the rules over there different to us over here? Because over here, you've got to be a certain type of person, aren't you? You can't just get married by anyone over here.
No, over there. Did you ever watch that Friends episode where Joey got an online... I almost called it a priesthood there, but no, it would be an officiant. But no, you can literally get it. That wasn't parody. You can become a licensed official just by paying money on the internet.
Okay.
Repeat after me as loud as you can. As a Tough Mudder, I pledge that. I understand that Tough Mudder is not a race, but a challenge. I put teamwork and camaraderie before my course time. I do not whine. Pick one!
So there you go then. And all of that is only going to come in only 10 grand. $10,000.
So let's add this up mentally. 2 participant tickets. Say you're really, really bad and you buy in on the day. So that'll be $400.
Yep.
Yeah. The spectator tickets are what, $10 a piece, maybe $15.
Let's say 20 to be safe.
Okay, whatever. Let's start all in. Let's call it 100. So we're on $500 so far. Okay.
Yeah.
Professional photos. Oh, actually, those were costed. Have you ever bought photos off Tough Mudder?
I never have. Aren't they free in the UK, aren't they?
Yes, they are actually. That's a good point. Yeah, I'm thinking back in the day, but yeah, so, professional photos, food vouchers. To be fair, if it's for Jolly Hog, I could see you get up to a few hundred grand, a few hundred pounds there.
They'll say 200.
Yeah. First dance on the stage. Yeah, that's free.
Yeah.
Tent with seating for 8. Well, they're going to have the tents there anyway. And I presume the seating for 8 will be, one of them benches that we usually take over when we go there, Alan.
Yeah, so that's free.
So that's free. The MC will be there already. Perhaps you might need to hire another, pay an extra hour or two, to get another MC in while he's been taken away. But even so, it's $100 so I'm coming up with no more than $2,000 so far. The only thing I haven't touched on is the black tie headband and white veil headband, which 50 cents worth of actual value.
Yeah, maybe pushing that as well. They buy them in bulk.
Yeah, that's true. Although saying that, I reckon you could probably put them on eBay afterwards and get $12,000 for it. So this could be an investment.
It's £10,000. There used to be a thing, if you go back 2015, 2016, when we got the second wave of people coming in, everyone was saying, don't go to Tough Mudder because it's super expensive, and everyone was shouting it. This is going back to them days. This is going back to like something that's absolutely ridiculously in price. If they were saying you rocked up, you had a limousine, they pick you up in a limousine from wherever you are, take you to the event, all 8 of you could run, yeah? All 8 of you got special headbands. 2 electric wire rings, that's pennies. 2 special rings, 2 Tough Mudder rings, you could make it a proper £10,000 package. But as it stands, if that's all you're going to get, the champagne's not going to cost you £8,000, is it? For a bottle of champagne. They're not going to give you the best Dom Perignon going.
No, and unless those electric wire rings, unless they're actually sculptured and it's not a case of getting 2 regular rings and just move it, putting some electro shocks, cut-offs around the ring. Yeah. It's funny, Alan. I'll briefly mention UKOCR awards, which the total cost is pretty much the food menu, isn't it? Yeah. In that, what we're charging. What is it? Is it about 4, maybe £5 to cover the rest of the costs?
Exactly. And we've got medal, we've got trophies on top of that, and we've got the after the MC, the DJ. So we're running that on a shoestring. If we took the Tough Mudder approach, those tickets would be £550 a pop. Oh, with ease, yeah, easy. We could easily justify £550, I think. Yeah,
but we can't, and they can't.
But on the backside of it, though, Ian, would you really want to get married at a Tough Mudder event?
No, I'd want to get married at a race that shan't be named, of course.
Maybe that's where I'm going wrong. 24 hours of racing and then we'll get you married.
Absolutely. The only problem is I don't think yet you can get married outside in the UK. I think it still has to be in a building.
Can he not be in a... What about people get married in marquees?
Marquee, I think it's fine. Yeah, get your marquee.
My caravan. We get married in my caravan.
That would be the most redneck thing in Ashbourne ever. I'm all for it. I'm not gonna do it, but yeah, Alan, let's go for it. Let's throw it out there. Anyone want to get married at a caravan in Ashbourne at the race that shan't be named?
Yeah, reach out and we'll arrange it. If someone reaches out now, Ian, I'm gonna be so happy, but also so God, I've got to arrange a wedding now.
We'll make it a lot less.
I've arranged 3. I can do it.
There you go. You got practice, but
Got
yeah,
practice.
we'll guarantee you it'll be less than $10,000.
Without a doubt.
Oh dear.
It might be a tenner.
Oh dear. Right. Okay. While we're talking about prices, Alan,
Yeah.
we're going to go on to Hyrox a bit of news later, but one thing people have noticed, and I don't think it's just Hyrox, I think a few other events are like this, event prices are creeping up again.
Yeah, I think every price is creeping up here, not just event prices. Every price are creeping up. You know, from a race director's point of view, I priced my race up 8 months ago and the prices have gone up. You know, even though you agree 8 months ago, people are going to put the price, everyone's going to put the prices up. I think some events are going a little bit crazy with the prices. You know, I really do. I think I saw something the other day, I'm doing a 60 miler around Sheffield, an ultra around Sheffield, a 60 miler ultra around Sheffield. It's costing me 60 quid. There's 6 food stations at it and everything else. Absolutely amazing price. And I thought, yeah, it's worth 60 quid. My 100 miler that I've got booked is costing me just short of 200 quid. You know, I'm paying 140 quid extra for an extra 40 miles. It's a big jump in price. And I think we see this in a lot of running events, whether it be OCR or, and I know we're going to touch on Hyrox in a minute, but a lot of events are putting the prices up, aren't they?
They are. And like I say, the reason we're mentioning Hyrox, it's not to give them kicking because we do lots and lots of good. And they are in they're in an advantageous position, which unlike practically every other race company at the moment, their races are selling out.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's very much supply and demand. But someone, I'm not going to embarrass them, but they'll know who they are. Someone just reached out to me and said, Ian, it's double from last year. I paid £69 last year. It's now costing me 115.
Do you think some of the venues, though, it's because of the venues, because they're going to be charging extra, you know, gas, electric, things like that. You know, we went to Manchester not long since. I know you've just been to Glasgow, but we were at Manchester the other week, and the lights that they were on constantly, you know, the event was a little bit longer than probably the previous year as well. All of that needs to be taken into consideration as well, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And I guess you're in a difficult spot, aren't you, if your Hyrox is something like that, because it's very easy when you are at the top of the game or top of the food chain. We do this a lot in the UK. We kick lumps out of stuff.
Yeah.
It's how we do. We love to see a success story, but oh golly, do we love to pull down a success story?
Yeah, and I don't want to pull Hyrox down. You know, they've got their own pricing structure, and I don't think in any way that they're trying to fleece the public. I really don't. I think that a lot of prices have gone up, if I'm honest. I just don't think they're trying to fleece the public, but that's my opinion.
I'd be minded to agree. I do wonder whether it would have just helped them if they had been a little bit more transparent with it. You're between the devil and the deep blue sea, aren't you?
Yeah.
In that, yeah, from my point of view, it would have been nice if you just said, guys, just so you're aware, there has been a price increase this coming year because everything's costing that little bit more.
Yeah.
And just left it at that.
Yeah. It is a big jump though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a big jump. But like you say, we don't know their books, so we don't know for sure. And
no.
To us, they've always been good. So I always see the good in people. I really hope it is just increased costs.
Do you think it's also sponsorship as well? So, you know, last year they had quite a lot of sponsors, and it felt that this year they didn't have as many. So when I was in, I know they've got Puma. Puma's still their big sponsor. But at Manchester last year, they had MyZone, they had Wolverson, and I think they had a few others in that, where this year they didn't seem to be that sponsorship. It was literally, basically, I saw the Puma stand, and I think there was what's the bags that you can get, the rucksacks.
Yeah, Built for Athletes bag. You've also
got
Randox and Food Spring as well. But I don't know. They've still got sponsored by Red Bull, but again, I don't see their accounts, and quite frankly, I'd never want to because I wouldn't understand them. I'm a lawyer. But yeah, it could
I say
be.
this. Yeah, I say this based on there's a race that's gone under this week, which we've got it on the list here, but I'm going to quickly jump to it.
Yeah, let's touch on that, because, like you say, I don't think we can solve it. All we can do is highlight that prices have gone up. we hope that it is as a result of raising costs. So let's talk about that, Alan.
So Thunder Run, they've announced that they're not doing their race this year. They're going to give everyone a refund. I'm not going to take that away from them. I said this is the right way to do it. If you're going to cancel your race, you give everyone a refund. They've done that. Absolutely fantastic. Well done to your Thunder Run. But is it a coincidence that they lost Continental last year and they haven't got a sponsor this year?
Oh, that's interesting.
You know, maybe it's me. I don't know. From my understanding, they didn't put the prices up a great deal. You know, a couple of quid. But they lost the main sponsor. And I think, you know, if you're putting huge events on like this, you've got to get your infrastructure right in terms of the sponsorship deal, the behind the scenes money, because that's what sometimes makes it viable, if that makes sense. You know, you can have whatever price you want for runners, but if you don't get the amount of runners turning up and doing it, you're not going to make money. But the sponsorship can turn a race from a non-profit into a profit one. We've never really had it in OCR, but you get a lot of road runs and a lot of runs like Thunder Run that have main sponsors. And I'm pretty certain that Continental would have been a really good sponsor, would have been putting a fair few kudos in there. They pull out. Coincidence? I'm not sure.
No, that's a really good point because, but again, in OCR, we've always had almost a eat what you kill philosophy, haven't we? And so many races have gone under because they basically, they're getting entry fees in and they're spending that money almost instantly on cash flow. Whereas in the road running sphere, what happens is you'll have the sponsor money, which hopefully will basically pay for the race, and then all your race fees will then become a bit of a float.
Yep.
No, that's a good point. And plus, also sponsorship doesn't always have to be money. Like for the race that shan't be named, which seems to be getting kind of named a lot today. I know water and that kind of thing, and food and that kind of thing is a big drain. And if you had a sponsor to pay for that, it's suddenly off your expenses sheet.
Exactly. You know, and that's what. So I would assume that's what Red Bull are doing with Hyrox. So I would say Red Bull are definitely just supplying things. You know, I can't really see Red Bull do sponsor a lot of sports, a lot of sporting events. I do know from their philosophy though, they don't actually part with cash. It is very much we'll supply, and they supply drinks and that, and they do it free of charge. But they don't actually give money.
Which makes a lot of sense given how much they sponsor. And again, with Puma, we don't know the deal behind there. Is it cash? Is it stuff in hand? We honestly don't know. But that is a really good point about Thunder Run that I hadn't thought about. And you do wonder if that'll happen to others, because we're not in a recession, I don't believe. But the first thing that gets slashed when times are hard is marketing budgets.
Yeah. It is. You're right. It is. The marketing budget always gets slashed. People are saying, "Oh, let's cut back a little bit. Where can we cut back?" And even though maybe to Continental, let's just say it was £10,000. I think it'd be much more than that. But if it's £10,000, it's small fish, but it's £10,000 back in their pocket.
No, exactly. And people do it at home with their own finances, don't they? You know, if you've got. If you're in the unfortunate position where you can't pay all your bills in one particular month, you'll tend to look at what you can get away with not paying to tide you over. Yeah, Alan?
Yeah. I see it a lot at this time is like people with credit cards, you know, where people have always had credit cards and they've always paid, you know, maybe 50% of it off, whatever the credit card bill is. They're now going down to pay minimum payments purely because they can't afford to pay the amounts off. So they're paying 50% off, they're paying, 5% off. So it's going to take them a lot longer. And it's false budgeting, but it's the way people in a cost of living crisis have got to cut your cloth into it.
Exactly. And it would make so much sense, like you say, for Continental, who, with the greatest respect to Thunder Run, it looks nice on the portfolio. Yeah. No one is buying Continental tires because of them sponsoring Thunder Run.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe when they were Adidas, which they were sponsored before Continental, maybe that would have been a bit different because it used to be Adidas TR24, didn't it, at one stage? So maybe that's.
But no, I thought that actually brings me up, Alan. To have you been listening to Matt B. Davis's Book of OCR yet?
So I've been listening to some of it, but I just can't get into it, Ian. It's because it's American. I'm just, if it was British, I'd be all over it. But because it's American, I just can't get into it a little bit. So I've listened to some, but not all of it.
Well, what was interesting was the Battle Frog episode where they sponsored, as in Battle Frog, sponsored a college football game. So it would be like Nuclear or Not sponsoring what I call Coca-Cola Cup.
All right.
And the reason they managed to do it was basically this bowl, which was Fiesta Bowl, needed a sponsor.
Right. That's interesting.
It's fascinating because they were talking about, how much would it cost? And this was a prime TV spot as well. That's why I made the comparison to the Coca-Cola Cup. It went out on New Year's Day. You've basically the headline sponsor for 4 hours.
And how much did it cost them? Did they say?
Yeah, only $1 million.
What would that buy you at Super Bowl? That'd buy you about 5 seconds, wouldn't it, in Super Bowl?
Probably about 5 seconds. It'll buy you about 100 Tough Mudder weddings.
Yeah, 100 Tough Mudder weddings. I like that one. Good. That's a good comparison. $1 million. Gosh, that's shocking. No, not shocking. That's a lot of money, and a lot of money to make back.
Yeah, and they never did, and that's why we don't talk about Spartan, Tough Mudder, and Battle Frog.
Yeah.
But it was just fascinating talking about the sponsorships, and maybe Thunder Run, I don't know, needed to lower their sponsorship, or maybe look for it and just couldn't find one.
Yeah. Sometimes, in the UK, when we talk about sponsoring something or you're asking people to sponsor something, I always get the feeling that they think it's going to cost them millions of pounds. So an example of this was the awards. And you could sponsor, I don't mind telling people this, so I hope you don't mind me saying, but for a company to sponsor an award, they have to pay £250 and they got a table for 4. So in theory, it cost them 70 quid because they got the table for 4 people as well, which I think is a good, reasonable deal. But some people were saying, isn't it £500 and £600? And I'm like, no, this is not about making money. This is about everyone coming, having a good time and making sure we cover his overheads. And that's all we're bothered about doing. And I was shocked that people thought we should be charging more. Does that make sense?
No, it does. And people, I guess it's often perception, isn't it? It's often this perception that sponsorship means, you're writing a blank check. And a lot of times it's not. A lot of times it's literally a quid pro quid, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. I listened to Matt B. Davis's weekly show today, and I think he mentioned on there sending over. Who was he recording with?
He was recording Rich Ryan,
and he mentioned sponsoring Rich Ryan to come over to the UK to Europe for a Hyrox. And I think he's, I don't know if it was tongue in cheek or not, but he said, "We'll book you the flight and the hotel. Not giving Rich any money, not sponsorship, not giving you any cash, but we'll book your flight and a hotel type of thing." And I thought, that is really what a lot of people just want in terms of a sponsor.
Exactly, and that kind of sponsorship really helps.
Yeah, and that's all that people want, isn't it? Sometimes they don't want thousands of pounds and things like that. Kit and stuff like that is good enough. It saves them money.
No, exactly, and let's be honest, sponsored athletes, most of them will be happy with just their races paid for.
Yeah, without a doubt.
You're listening to the 132nd most popular podcast for people who participate in online competitive tiddlywinks.
We mentioned briefly about Hyrox. Should we go through all the Hyrox news?
Let's go through some Hyrox. Glasgow, first of all, let's go Glasgow. How was it?
Well, it was good, and I'm going to do that annoying thing. Not going to talk about it too much because I recorded Alan with the intern, and Lindsay McEwen from Who's Scott.
Ooh, so you got two people that ran it talking to you about it.
Exactly. So that'll be launching on the Fitness Racing podcast. As we're recording this, we've actually no clue when it's going out. So make sure you subscribe, and it'll be out it might already be out, or it might be out before next Wednesday. Yeah, Alan?
Without a doubt. Was there anything on that you can just quickly touch on? Give us some teasers. Some of the discussion points?
Yeah, well, one thing that is getting discussed a lot is how quick it was. Our good friend Gavin Hogarth was saying that he got something like 4 or 5 minutes better than Manchester.
Yeah, I got that. I saw his post on social media about it.
And it's a difficult one, if I'm honest, Alan, because I think Glasgow was a quick course.
Yeah,
I really do. I think having the hairpin turn or I forgot the chicane. I think having chicane, because it wasn't a monotonous run, because you had that little bit of difference, I think that encouraged people to run faster.
Yeah. What about Rock Zone? Because I said that Rock Zone looked going to be very, very small, much more compact.
It really was. It was. There wasn't. We were there doing media as usual. I was barely in the Rock Zone because I just didn't feel there was enough room to work with. So right. I got some shots from there, but I didn't spend as much time as we usually do because it was so compact. I didn't want to get in the way of people. So when we had mixed doubles or any doubles out, I tried to avoid it.
Yeah, I get that.
I do think people could cut corners as well, but it was a fast. But I think what hasn't helped is I think Manchester was a slow course.
Yeah. Manchester, this is what me, but I felt Manchester was a long kilometre.
Yeah, I think people have said that. They think it might have been a bit longer than a whole case. So I think that's not helped things. So the contrast has made Glasgow look really, really fast.
Right. Yeah, I get that.
Whereas the actual times for most people they were standard Hyrox times. I know a lot of people have got personal bests, and it may be the case that everyone had a great day. It may be the case that there was a slight hiccup. Although the Rock Zone lads on their podcast made a very good point today, Alan.
Which was that? What point was that?
It was the fact that the way the track worked, you did your longest run right at the end.
Okay.
So as you were going into the actual event, you were slightly less gassed.
Right, okay. Has anyone done any analysis on, that's a good point, but has anyone done analysis on what was faster? Because I'm going to assume that all the fitness stations would have been very, very similar. Did people actually save time on the run, though, or was it on the Rock Zone?
It was mainly run and Rock Zone was where people were making time back.
Right. Okay.
So that's where people were making time. And I didn't measure it myself. I don't think it was too outrageous because we only had one person sub an hour.
Yeah. Whereas
if it was really outrageous, you'd expect a lot more people. Okay, you can chat about level of competition, but we had Tony Revel there. We had our good friend Gavin there. We had Ian Irving there. We had lots of people who, with the right, if a course was ridiculously short, they'd have been doing sub an hour.
Yeah, I get that.
Should we go through the results, Alan?
Yes. I'm hoping that you've got them up.
I've got, let's go through the mail first. We had Graham Halliday, who got a 57.53. And I think this has led to a lot of the, should we say, discussion?
Yeah.
Because back in Manchester, he did a 1:02. So he's improved by 4 minutes.
Wow. And that's quick, isn't it?
It is. But again, Manchester was slow. This was fast. And I think Graham is a good athlete. So I don't. Yeah, I think it's unfortunate that people are questioning it. Again, was it a fast course? Yeah, it was probably a fast course. But I do think he's an elite. And this gets him probably into the Elite 15. And honestly, judging by the runs we've seen him, Alan, I think he deserves it.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah.
You saw him several times as he ran straight past you.
Straight past me. He didn't even break a sweat as he was going past me.
No, and he said himself that he felt he could have put more into Manchester. So I do think. So he was first. Second place, we had Tony Revel, friend of the show. And in third place, another friend of the show, Ben Spillman.
Nice one.
So well done to you. In the ladies, and I'm going to butcher this. I'll go in reverse order for the ladies. We had Christiana Gunnarsdottir in third place. And Alan, this is you'll love this. Age group.
Yeah.
Have you any idea what her age group was?
I have, because I've actually just loaded it up. Because I thought it was going to ask me 50 to 54, which is amazing.
I know. I think that was a new world record at that age category.
That age group, wow. That is fast, isn't it, for that age group?
It is. In second place, we had Alice Hardy, who I think has been there or thereabouts. And in first place, Alan, can you pronounce this Irish name? Because I can never pronounce it.
Oh, no, I can't. Oaf?
I think it's
I-F-E?
I want to say, I think it's Effie O'Sullivan. I think that's, you pronounce it Effie O'Sullivan. But if I'm wrong, I do apologise.
I like that name, Effie. Effie. That's a really nice name, though.
It's a lovely name. As well as that, Alan, we also had the Chicago North American champs, didn't we?
Yes, we did. So this was like the cream of the cream went there, didn't they?
They did. Did you get a chance to watch it back yet?
No, I haven't. I've got to admit, no, I haven't watched it back. I watched a little bit of it on OCR report, but I didn't get to see the elites in the full race anyway. So no, but I do know the results.
No, I will let you go through results. But before I let you go through results, I will say, if you've got time, go back and watch OCR report. That goes out to everyone. They did a very good job of covering this race. And Alan, do you want to go through the results?
Yeah, I'm going to go from one downwards. So first of all, David Magida actually won. Now, he's not been winning Hyrox, has he? He's been he's been podium, but he hasn't been winning them, has he?
He's always been there or thereabouts. There's a famous story with David in that, do you remember before Hyrox got big?
Yeah.
So at a time when only people who followed obstacle racing media knew about Hyrox, to be fair.
Yeah.
And maybe one or two have done it on the continent. Hunter and I want to say Lauren Weeks had a throwdown in, I want to say either Chicago or Dallas, where it was an invitational. It was almost like the American launch of Hyrox.
Yeah. And
David talked his way into that race.
Oh, right.
and came second. So
wow.
He is a good athlete. But I am, give him his flowers, as seems to be something people are saying a lot. I was really happy that he did it.
Yeah. I mean, great. 59.11, though. Maybe not the fastest time we've seen, but we are talking about the States, which is a different level of racing. And this is why I'm doing it this way, because when I get down to third, you'll understand why. So Dylan Scott second, 59.45. And then we had Michael Sandbach in third place in over an hour. Now, Michael is well capable of going under an hour. And in Europe, anyway, going under an hour in Europe. And then when we look at the next places, Alexander Ronchevic, Geoffrey Rosin and Tim Vinish, all of them Europeans, all running over an hour as well.
Yeah, and to be fair, the actual, you'll notice this on the video, going out the rock zone, they had some hairpin turns.
Right. Okay.
Which made it that little bit harder. So with these events, and these events are always a bit longer because you do it on the grid. So you're doing it in, they take down the barrier between the sled pull and the sled push. And you're doing the sled push and pull on one side, and then everything else is on the other carpet. So you go back and forward for the burpees, for the farmers carrying for sandbags.
Right.
So again, that adds to it because you're turning up the thing. But you are right, compared to Maastricht, the times were down a bit.
Good to see Michael up there though, and competing with the best. Only a minute down on David Magida.
Well, yeah, and Michael Sandy, face a lot of the same things that Graham is sadly facing now. When he qualified, people were like, "Oh, is this guy for real?" And yes, he absolutely is for real. Will Graham prove the doubters wrong? That remains to be seen. But it is a case of just because you don't know someone doesn't mean they're not good.
No. I'm absolutely amazing. Do you think something's changed in him? Because we saw him last year. He walked off the wall balls. Was it the wall balls he walked off? It
was, and I do feel sorry for Sunday because he'll probably never live this down. But I think it was a very smart thing for him to do. It wasn't his race. He wasn't in a great place. Why potentially injure yourself? Why not just call it your day?
I get that. Do you think he's now changed because of that? do you think he's now changed and he's coming out now with some amazing times? I mean, let's face it, he's coming out with some amazing times, and he's only getting better.
Yeah, I think it was one of the good things to happen to him. I'm not going to say it's the best thing, but I think to get to the highest of highs, you have to be at lowest of lows.
Yeah.
And I think we often chat about this. You always learn more from your mistakes than from your victories.
Yeah, you do. You should do.
Yeah, your mistakes will teach you stuff. Your victories might be dumb luck.
Yeah.
So
like my Wolfram victory, that wasn't luck.
No, that was hard.
I told you I've won a race, Ian.
No, you never mentioned it at all. But yeah, I think it has really helped him. Do you want to go through the ladies' results?
Oh yeah. Oh, see that part I wasn't ready for them because we were still talking. But yes, I've got them here. So again, I'll go down 1, 2, 3. Michaela Norman from Sweden in first place, 1 hour 2:04. Megan Jacobi, 1 hour 2:43. And then the shock for me was Lauren Weeks, 1:03:44. That's over 1.5 minutes slower than Michaela.
Well, do you know what was actually quite interesting about these races?
Yeah,
was both David and Michaela kind of like came from behind to win.
Oh.
And I mentioned that grid earlier. One of the good or bad things about the grid is it's very hard to get a gauge on where everyone is because, for example, when you're doing a regular Hyrox, Alan, when you're like in the farmer's carry, you can see roughly where everyone is. Yeah. It's a lot harder when they're pacing back and forwards because you don't know what their count is.
Yeah, because you're not chasing them, are you? You're not following them. You don't know where. I get that. So you've really got to get 100%, haven't you, all the time?
It's effectively a time trial.
Yeah.
But it's a time trial. But if you're at the front, you're aware you're at the front, and you're also aware of someone nipping at your heels. And I think this is what happened to Lauren and to Megan. They were probably exhausting each other, trying to both make a move. Michaela, who is the world record holder, by the way, let's not remove anything from her, just snuck in. But I think what's interesting to me in the ladies' field, it's incredibly deep, but you've also got these 3 ladies now who, in Manchester, it will probably all be about them.
Manchester's going to be interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, because there were 6 elite qualifying spaces available, automatic for Manchester.
Yeah.
The men have taken 5. So of the 6 available, 5 have been taken. Sandy accounted for the row down, so he qualified twice. In the ladies, the podium, the order was different, but it was the same podium as Maastricht.
Right. So all them 3 had already qualified?
Absolutely, yeah.
So, wow. Yeah.
So they were just racing for money. So, yeah, it was a great race. And if you've got time, go back and watch the OCR report. But the big news, Alan, this week
is that there's a marathon on going off.
No, that's not the big news. The big news is Hyrox is going to Dublin.
Yes, I saw that on your UKHXR fitness racing Instagram account. Amazing. Tom must be happy. Tom and Dina Hogan must be super happy.
Yeah, and Seamus, a good friend over in the northwest part of Ireland. Yeah. The only unfortunate thing is we always joke about races clashing.
And this is what I was saying. There's a proper clash here.
Yeah, it's clashing with a Dublin City Marathon.
Yeah. Same weekend, Ian. Oh, this is... Now, I know what you're going to say here. You're going to talk about hotels, aren't you?
And everything else.
There's no hotels. You know, I've seen a few posts that there's no hotels available.
No, there are some, but yeah, I would definitely, if you're planning to do Hyrox Dublin, plan in advance or plan at the last minute.
Yeah.
But that doesn't take away. And unfortunately, venues are free when venues are free.
Yeah.
And your logistics work when your logistics work. People might not realize this, that Hyrox only has so many sets of equipment. Like the equipment you saw in Glasgow is probably currently on its way to Germany for the next race.
Yeah. Do you know when they booked Dublin, do you think they knew that the marathon was on, or do you think they just booked it and didn't realise, or vice versa?
It's probably like a Spartan thing that basically that was a free weekend in their calendar, and
Yeah.
Dublin had it free as well. Because you've got Birmingham the week before. I dare say you're going to have another event in 2 weeks. So it was probably a free spot in their calendar.
Yeah, I get
And
that.
one that logistically made sense, because getting the equipment from Birmingham to Ireland is probably easier than getting it to Ireland from Germany.
Yeah, too right. All logistics, mate. That's what it's all about now.
Well, it is. It's just unfortunate timing. But I'll tell you one thing: if you are going to be there with the marathon happening the day after, it's going to be some good crack, isn't it?
If you're into fitness, you're going to have a great weekend. You know, I can see people going, doing Hyrox, good evening out there, you know, and then watching the marathon, having a few beers. It's going to be an amazing weekend. It's a venue weekend, isn't it? It's a venue weekend. Yeah,
definitely a destination. So it might make things a bit more expensive, but it's going to be amazing to be there, and hopefully we will be there. We're going to try. Tom Hogan might find someone sleeping on his lawn.
Do you take my caravan over?
Absolutely. Right. We've got a couple of things that we've been sent, if that's okay, Alan. I'm just going to rattle through some news.
Go on then.
So the 3K national trials in the south will be at Nuts on April 23rd.
Yeah.
And that'll be on sale by this going out.
Like that.
The winner of each age group will automatically be selected for a 3K British Obstacle Sports national team in Belgium. And early bird starts at £35 with the option of free camping.
Oh, I like a bit of free camping. I like a bit of a free 35 quid race. Definitely.
And we should also mention Youth Sports Gavin a couple of weeks ago. Tartan Warrior is the Northern age group national trials for, I presume, for the same 3K.
Yes. Yeah. 3K race. It's the Northern trials, isn't it? And in terms of you qualify, I think it's age groups as well. So yeah. It's all on Gavin's podcast. Me and Gavin spoke on Tartan Warrior last week. I forgot most of it. I've slept since then, Ian.
Oh, yeah. And we've also been talking about not as many races, and our good friend James Burton sent us. I feel we talked about this last year, but Curly's at Normanby Hall Country Park, they've got their race date set, 12th of March, Alan.
Yeah, I think I spoke to Dave Walton about it last year, didn't I? And he mentioned it was a really good race. In his words, it was inexpensive, but it was a lot for the money.
Yeah, and that's in Scunthorpe.
Just outside Scunthorpe, yeah. I think it's one of these charity event type ones.
Yeah, it's only £22.50.
Bargain. Absolute bargain. And I wonder what I'm doing on 12th of March.
Yeah, I was thinking that. And it's £39 if you want to do it twice.
Oh, double training. I don't think I'm doing much on. I'm going to have a look now. It's got me now. What day is it? Is it a Saturday or a Sunday, 12th of March? Let me have a look.
I'm not sure. When is the OCR Awards? Sunday?
So, yes, Saturday 4th is... Oh, so it's a Sunday 12th. Oh, is it a Sunday? Alan might have a trip.
I might have a look too. See what... Because it's raising money for Samaritans who, they do a bang-up job.
Yeah. Great job. I found a race this week.
What race did you find?
Rawfit are doing the Savage next year, so 2024. It's happening on the 27th of January. But you know what that date normally was, or used to be?
No, I don't.
That used to be Tough Guy Date.
Ooh.
So we've got a race. So Rick down at Rawfit is putting on the Savage race, which is originally Tough Guy Dates. I like it.
Oh, wow. So, I know we've been talking a lot of fitness racing recently because that's what's going on in the world. But racing's back, Alan.
Racing's back. We like it. We talked about earlier on about, races not being around like they were, as one of our first topics of today. Races are coming back. They're just coming back a little bit slower. I really don't want to go back to the heyday, if I'm honest, Ian, where we could have raced every weekend. I think it's good to have a choice, but I think we need a good choice. So all the races that are coming, just make sure they're good value for money. And I think OCR will be here for a long, long time. Still, it'll still have me doing this when I'm in my 90s.
Which hopefully by that time we'll be able to have finally, Alan, created a podcast, which what did we say about Thomas Edison and finding 100 ways not to make a podcast?
Yeah. What show would we be on then?
I'm not sure. I'm half tempted to ask listeners to find it out, but it'd be so arbitrary and they'd have to find your age and your birthday and that'd be a little bit creepy.
Yeah, it would be very, very creepy. Very, very creepy. Before we go, I want to give a good shout out to Linda Johnson today for sending me a parcel of Voom products. Thank you, Linda, for that. Much appreciated. There you go.
No, fantastic. And I don't think I've got any shout outs this week. Gave quite a few. I'm going to ask you, Alan, who is on your podcast this coming Monday?
So this coming Monday, I have got an American. Now, you asked me this, and I can't remember his name now. I know it's, look at this, Josh Kohler. I knew it was Josh, but the surname I couldn't get right. Josh Kohler. So it's coming on my podcast this weekend. Spartan Racer, Two Chance Racing is his Instagram name. But yeah, Josh Kohler, coming on my podcast this Monday. I haven't recorded it yet.
Oh, fingers crossed he is, otherwise it'll be me and you again.
I'm not recording it till Sunday afternoon, because we've got to get the timings right with him being over in the good old USA.
Gosh, yeah, you're gonna be exhausted, Alan.
Yeah, I know. Tiring week. Could be a tiring weekend for me.
Yeah, but you're up for it. We know you're up for it.
And what have you got planned on the UKHXR podcast?
Well, I've already recorded it, actually. We've got an interview with Yaz. She is an athlete. IG handle is Fit as Yaz. So go and check her out. And it's quite an interesting one because we all know kind of the usual OCR story, the usual fitness race story of how you get into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
She got into doing her first Hyrox a lot differently to a lot of other people, and I'll just leave that as a little bit of a tease, and people can listen.
Ooh, now I can't wait to edit. I can't wait to edit this one now.
No, and I think that's us done, Alan. So I'm going to say it's a good night from me,
and it's a good night from me. And thank you for joining me, and thank you, listeners, for joining as well. Take care. Thank you. Bye.